Rory McIlroy refuses to show up for a $3.6 million payday at TPC River Highlands, and the PGA Tour quietly scrambled to invoke an obscure clause buried in the player handbook just to keep his card alive. Victor Hovland drained his putt on the first playoff hole Monday morning. Scotty Scheffler lipped his out. The $20 million Travelers Championship closed without its second-ranked player in the field. That detail is the one nobody wants to say out loud. McIlroy helped draft the signature event blueprint, sat in those rooms, pushed for those purses, sold the product to sponsors and broadcasters. 3 skips later, the tour is bending its own 15-event minimum rule to protect the same star who stopped teeing up. His agent confirmed no desire to lose the card. The extenuating circumstances clause is being prepared quietly. Bob Herrig posted the math on X, and the golf world did the arithmetic in real time. Rivals watching him pull this watched Scheffler grind 13 events this season, and that gap is exactly where the word revenge starts making sense. Drop your take in the comments. I genuinely want to know which side you landed on first, because the real problem here runs deeper than one skipped tournament. The clause itself tells you everything about where the PGA Tour actually stands right now. It is not in the press releases. It is not in the commissioner's prepared statements. It sits in the 2026 Player Handbook, written in the kind of careful legal language designed to be used quietly, without fanfare, when the situation demands it. The commissioner, Jay Monahan, has the personal discretion to reduce the 15-event minimum for any foreign member, citing medical reasons or extraordinary circumstances. No vote, no committee, one man's call, and the circumstance being cited for Rory McIlroy involves a back injury that forced him out of the Arnold Palmer Invitational earlier this season and delayed his arrival to defend his Players' Championship title in March. That is the official thread. Whether it fully explains 9 starts in a season where he won the Masters, finished top 10 at the PGA Championship, and scouted Shinnecock Hills in person before the U.S. Open. That is a question the Tour is not interested in answering publicly. To understand why this particular moment cuts so deep, you have to go back to who Rory McIlroy was before he became the golfer who calls himself a part-timer. Not the 2011 version who detonated the U.S. Open field at Congressional. Not the 2014 machine who won 2 majors in the same summer and looked like the most complete ball striker on the planet. Go back to 2022, the year the signature event architecture was being drawn up inside PGA Tour boardrooms, and McIlroy was one of the loudest voices in the building, making the commercial case. He understood what premium events needed: star power in the field, not occasionally, consistently. He pushed for the $20 million purses. He made the pitch to sponsors and broadcasters that the Tour's elite would show up for its elite events. That argument was credible in 2022 because McIlroy was the kind of player who showed up everywhere. He played full schedules. He competed in Asia. He played the DP World Tour, the PGA Tour, the Ryder Cup, the majors, all of it, every year, at full commitment. The hunger that defined him was never just about winning. It was about proving he belonged at every table, in every field, on every continent. That version of McIlroy did not disappear overnight. The signals started appearing in 2025, a slightly lighter schedule, a few more rest weeks, a visible shift in how he structured his year around the 4 majors rather than the full calendar. At the time, it read as maturity. A player in his mid-30s learning to manage his body and his bandwidth. Smart, understandable, but 2026 has moved well past maturity into something the Tour did not model when it built the signature event system. McIlroy retained his Masters title in April, a second consecutive green jacket, a moment that should have launched him into the heart of the American summer schedule with momentum and obligation. Instead, it gave him permission to pull further back. He settled his family into a new house near Wentworth. He described the weeks away from competition as necessary, and then, standing in front of reporters at the Memorial Tournament in Ohio for only his 6th regular PGA Tour start of the year, he said the line that changed the temperature of this entire conversation. He said he felt like a part-timer these days. He did not hedge it. He did not walk it back. He said it, let it land, and moved on. That quote did not immediately explode. It registered as a curiosity, a self-aware joke from a player comfortable enough in his own legacy to be honest about his schedule. But it became a different kind of quote the moment Bob Harig posted the event count arithmetic on X. Harig is not a gossip account. He is one of the most respected golf reporters in the business, and his post was purely mathematical. McIlroy not in the Travelers field, 9 starts total, 15 required, the Scottish Open. And the Open getting him to 11, the 3 FedEx playoff events potentially getting him to 14. One short. The golf world did not need the math explained. It needed someone credible to post it. Once Harig did, the reaction was instantaneous and layered in exactly the way the tour's communications team would have dreaded. The fans who had been quietly noticing the absences for months suddenly had a number to attach to their frustration. 9? That was the number, and it landed differently than any press release or agent statement could have softened. The fan-base division that followed was not a simple split between supporters and critics. It was more complicated and more revealing than that. One camp landed on the side of earned autonomy. McIlroy has played professional golf since his teenage years, won 6 majors, spent 2 decades grinding tour schedules on multiple continents, and has the resume to structure his career however he chooses. The other camp was less interested in his resume and more interested in the precedent. McIlroy helped sell the signature event system to the people whose money funds it. Sponsors, broadcasters, and corporate partners were told the stars would be in the fields. 3 skips and a quiet handbook clause later. The question those partners are asking in private is not about Rory McIlroy specifically. It is about what the guarantee was actually worth. Scottie Scheffler is not asking that question publicly. He never does. That is the thing about Scheffler that makes him the most useful mirror for this entire situation. He does not comment on what other players do or do not do. He just plays. 13 starts this season against McIlroy's 9. 8 top 4 finishes in those 13 events, a level of sustained excellence that, in almost any other season, would have him sitting on 4 or 5 victories by late June. Instead, he has 1 win, the American Express in January, and 4 runner-up finishes, 3 of them consecutive, each one at the hands of a fellow member of the Tour's upper tier. McIlroy beat him at the Masters, Matt Fitzpatrick beat him at the RBC Heritage, Cameron Young beat him at the Cadillac Championship. Each time Scheffler played some of the best golf of his career, and someone else played slightly better. That is not a slump. That is the cruelest version of consistency, doing almost everything right and still coming up short because the players around you are operating at an extraordinary level. The Travelers Championship this week was supposed to be Scheffler's reset moment. Round 2 at TPC River Highlands looked like history in the making. He hit 15 of 16 greens in regulation, holed everything he looked at, and stood on the 17th tee at 9 under for the day with a 59 alive and breathing. A gusted approach missed the green. He made par. The 59 died. He still posted a 60, 1 off his career low, to take the 36-hole lead by 2 shots. By Sunday evening, he was in a playoff with Victor Hovland. Monday morning, no hospitality tents, no ceremony, just 2 elite players and 1 hole to decide it. Hovland made birdie from just outside 6 feet. Scheffler's 4-footer caught the left lip and spun out. 8 feet of grass separated him from his second win of the season. He walked off the green with 4 runner-up finishes and the kind of philosophical composure that either signals genuine inner peace or the very specific discipline of a competitor who refuses to let the camera see what losing actually costs him. McIlroy was already at Royal Birkdale when that putt lipped out. He had run into Sir Nick Faldo on the links during an unplanned Sky Sports interview, talked about how the course had changed since 2017, and described the next few weeks as his favorite stretch of the golfing year. That is not the behavior of a man in crisis. It is the behavior of a man who has decided clearly, deliberately, without apology, that his career now orbits the major championships and everything else is negotiable. He even reached for the Tiger Woods comparison to explain it, which was either the most confident thing he has said all season or the most revealing. Woods spent years managing a deteriorating body around a schedule built exclusively for peak performance at the 4 majors. McIlroy is 37, physically capable and making the same calculation from a position of health. The comparison holds up to a point, and then it exposes exactly what makes this situation different. Tiger had no choice in the end. Rory is choosing this now, while he can still play at full capacity, and the tour cannot do anything about it except write him a quiet exemption and hope the sponsors do not look too closely at the attendance sheet. The structural problem the tour is sitting with right now is one it created with its own design logic. The signature event system was built on the assumption that elite players would treat elite events as obligations attached to their status. The purses were the incentive. The prestige was the pull. Nobody modeled for the possibility that a player could win the Masters twice, carry a Boston Common golf equipment deal, live near Wentworth, and genuinely mean it when he says a $20 million event does not fit his schedule. The extenuating circumstances clause exists in the handbook for genuine medical emergencies and life crises, using it for a back injury that did not prevent Augusta, Shinnecock, or Muirfield Village is a creative application of the language, and every other player watching the tour process that application is doing the same arithmetic Bob Harig did on X. If the second-ranked player in the world can skip 3 signature events and keep his card through a commissioner's personal discretion, the question of what the minimum requirement actually means becomes a very uncomfortable one for the 90 players below him who showed up every week and never had that conversation available to them. Rory McIlroy will tee it up at the Scottish Open, then Royal Birkdale, then the FedEx Cup playoffs. He will chase a 7th major on a links course he already loves, in a country he now calls home for the summer, with the kind of freshness that a full American schedule would never allow. He might win. He probably arrives as one of the 3 or 4 most dangerous players in the field. And if he lifts the claret jug at Birkdale, every conversation about skipped signature events and extenuating circumstances clauses disappears inside the footage of that moment. That is how legacy works. It swallows the inconvenient parts. But the tour's problem does not disappear with a Rory major. It compounds because the next elite player who decides his schedule matters more than the field requirements now has a precedent with a name attached to it. The system bent once. Systems that bend once always get tested again. If you think this story ends at the Open, you have not been paying attention to how the PGA Tour's last 3 years have actually gone. Leave your take in the comments right now. Whether Rory is right or the tour is right, somebody in this situation is building toward a moment that changes professional golf permanently, and it is coming faster than the schedule shows.